In this video, I'm going to cover something that I think any new trader should actually do. And even if you are an experienced trader, I think this will help immensely. I'm a quick study. I'm new to trading crypto, but when I get involved in something, I jump all in. I go in what I call an all-out massive action mode. I read everything I can. I watch all YouTube videos. I just basically, and then I start doing it. I usually take action before I'm even competent. And that's what I did in this market. So I took action before I'm competent. I have a, substantial education, you could say, in this market, but it didn't change for me until the pivot point for me actually was when I actually did what I'm going to share with you in this video. So I point to my I'd say 40 to 60 lose percentage of trading to more like a 80 to 90% a positive trade percentage to this pivot point, what I'm going to share with you in this video. And this basically, it's watching the market in action. I put together a document, or I guess more like a primer on, trading cryptos. And I mentioned some books in here, and these understanding bubbles I think are important, because my philosophy is that with cryptos, I don't know if we're in a bubble, but I think we'll eventually be in a bubble. And I want to make money on the way up to the bubble, when it's at a bubble, and then on the way down, and then through the other side. That's kind of the same thing the .com kind of bubble, or whatever, the new technology of .com actually did. It went into a bubble, it popped, and it fell, and then now it's back to where Amazon, Google, all these companies that basically you interact with on a daily basis, Facebook and everything else, right? So I think the same opportunity exists for cryptos. So I want to ride that whole wave, and that's why I put these books in here, because that gives you the foundation, just a minimum foundation of that. The other thing that these books do is that they always talk about the markets and how they created, and that's what you're seeing right here. What I'm going to walk through in this video is how to actually watch this live market. I'll actually share how you can paper trade as well, and how you can track some of this, so you can kind of gut check to see, are you being in sync with the market? Because what you're seeing here, if you think about what this is, in a lot of those books that I mentioned, they mention a market like in ancient Rome or ancient Greece, Syria, Iran, Africa, all over the world. There's been markets all over the world. What you're doing right here is you're watching the hopes, the dreams, the fears, the greed, the panics, everything, every emotion known to humankind right here in this chart, you're seeing play out. You're also seeing irrational behavior. You're seeing manipulation. You're seeing a lot of that stuff right here play out in this chart. The problem with much of what you're seeing here is that you can know what these bars mean. You can know that, okay, well, it opened here and it closed here, and the price got up to here and it went down to here. That's great. Until you actually sit down and go through what I'm going to share here, you cannot scenario what really might have happened within this bar. It's one thing to kind of look at the bar and kind of interpret it. It's another thing for, let's just say, for argument's sake, you were in ancient Rome and you happen to live right on the market square, right? Every single day you watched business be transacted. Don't you think you'd be able to see trends? You'd be able to see, the guy that came with the goats every week and everything else, and you'd be able to really see kind of the ebb and flow, and you'd get a good feel of how does a typical day go, and what typically happens. And you might see someone that is always out there trying to scam someone, or trying to manipulate something, right? You'd be able to see that. If you just got a printout of a bunch of bars and a bunch of things of what happened, you'd be missing a lot from that experience of doing that. So what I'm sharing in this video is basically what you should do, which is basically, and I suggest anywhere from 4 to 12 to 16 hours. I'm not saying in one sitting. Don't do this in one sitting. You'll go crazy. But you should spend a substantial amount of time. And where I'm going to suggest you start is BTC and USD, or your native currency. And the reason for this is that if you're trading cryptos, BTC is everything's trading off BTC. Yes, you can trade in ETH. Yes, you can trade in other stuff now. BCC is starting to pop up. But BTC is the gold in this market. You're trading against it. It's really the store of value in this market at this given time. So understanding the price action that happens with BTC will help you trade every other altcoin that exists. Because what happens a lot of times with BTC, and especially in a crash, is that BTC, you'll see on the 1 minute chart or the 5 minute chart, all of a sudden, bam, it just drops. And then you look at the 10-minute chart, it's kind of going down, and then suddenly you'll see it register on the 15-minute chart, and you know something's happening. About 5 to 10 minutes later, you'll see on an alt chart that, hey, they got the memo, and they start dropping. Well, you'll be able to see this. You'll be able to see the price correlations and all of this stuff if you just master watching BTC and whatever your native currency is, okay? So how do you do this? What are you looking for? What are you looking to do? What is all this? If you don't know what all this stuff means, I'm not going to go into great detail what all this stuff is, right? But what I would suggest, I'm just going to go through a high-level overview. And if you don't know what all this stuff is, if you don't know what this is on the left, if you don't know what this is on the right, I'll go through them at a high level. If you don't know what this is and you don't know what this is or what bars mean, you need to kind of educate yourself on that, all right? I'm assuming you're at that level. Let's say that you know that. Every new trader, I even trade at 1 hour bars. You should start at 1 hour. So your 1 hour time frame. So every one of these candles represents an hour of price action, right? So that's what we're looking at right here. And the reason why you want to do this is because it helps you think in a longer term, and the big money, the smart money in this market thinks in longer terms. Anybody that thinks less than it, yeah, you can make money, but you have to go with the longer term trend. You have to understand what's happening on a bigger time scale than just your little 1 hour time frame that you're sitting down and trading. You have to see the larger picture, okay? So the other reason why you want to do this is because with 1 hour, yeah, this is going to be like watching paint dry sometimes. Like these bars here, look at that. I mean, here's what you're looking to get. Here's kind of the secret that this is going to unveil for you. These bars represent what happened in the past, right? This opened here and it closed here, right? And then the price got up to here and it got down to here, right? On this bar here. What it doesn't tell you is the multiple scenarios that could have transpired to make that happen, right? It didn't tell you the manipulation that happens here. It didn't tell you all that stuff. The only way you're going to get to know that is if you watch this stuff and you see it unfold in real time. And yeah, that means you might have to spend 2 or 3 hours watching how these bars are created and do it a couple times, but you will be more educated than 70% of probably the investors in this market, and it'll allow you to see that much more, make that much more trades. So what are you looking for? So basically you start at 1 hour bars, 1 hour candles, right? Start in your native currency. And I'll go through this at a high level. These are the people out there that are saying, hey, I'm willing to sell 11,000 or 0.9 Bitcoin for this price. It was there, but let's go up higher so it doesn't move. This person here is willing to sell 1.14 Bitcoin at 11,942. They basically raised their hand and said that. This entity here is said, I'm willing to buy 0.9 Bitcoin for 11,910, roughly, right? Now, this is often used, this side of the chart and the depth chart is often used for manipulation in the crypto market. I won't get into that in much detail, but one of the things that you'll start seeing when you watch the chart is how it's actually used, and then you'll be able to trade against that or trade with that. I do that a lot. So a lot of these charts, I trade with the manipulation. I'm able to see it now, and I trade with it. I know when to get out. I know when to spot. Like, I don't know if this would be, we're looking at what's called the depth chart. And basically, here's the best way to look at the depth chart that I've seen to say. It's never accurate. So first up, I do check this just to kind of get a gauge, but it's very rarely accurate. Okay. So use or look at this as a grain of salt, right? It's not something that is set in stone. This can change at a second's notice. But basically, what we're looking at right here is these people that are sitting here. There's a big, what would be called a sell wall. These people sitting here are saying, I don't believe the price is going to get above this level, so I'm willing to sell here. These people down here at 11,800 say, I don't believe the price is going to get below this level, and I think it's going to rise. Otherwise, why would they buy? I think it's going to rise, so I want to buy it here. I don't think it's going to get below this level. Now, you can, the other way to look at this is this might be support and this might be resistance, right? The problem with looking at this right now is that this can change, all right? This can change in a second. Now, so this is clear. And for people that are more experienced, I apologize. I'm going to go through just some basics here. But so this is clear. See this buy wall at 1,200? If we go over here and we click on the buyer side, so this third icon here, we should see that buy wall here. And where was that at? 1,800, right? So let's go to 1,800. Oh, no, was it 1,200? Sorry. Yeah, 1,200. I don't know why I said 1,800. 1,200. So at 1,200, there's a buy wall, and there is right there. See that? There's someone for 364,000 selling at 1,200, right? Now, the problem with that is that the closer it gets to this, that could disappear in a second. So don't ask me why. Maybe someone is trying to manipulate the price down. Maybe someone is saying, hey, maybe someone's sending a signal to other whales in the market that if you consider 363,000 a whale, right? A mini whale in Bitcoin. Maybe someone's trying to say, hey, we're not getting above this price. Not yet. We're not going to go above this price, not yet. And one of the interesting things that you'll do is that you're going to watch this. And remember, we're on 1 hour bars. You're going to watch these, which is the buyers saying, hey, I'm willing to buy, and the sellers, and you're going to watch the price. And you're going to also watch the actual trade history. See, what these two boxes don't reveal is the people that make market orders. And there's a large percentage of price action in cryptos is what are called market orders. So basically, I go here, I put in, 1 Bitcoin, right? At market price, whatever the market's willing to give me. I'm not going to go into market maker and everything else, but whatever the market's willing to give me, that doesn't show up here. It shows up over here. So you have to watch, basically, you have to look at, and this is why on the 1 hour bars, it's easy to do this, because if you're on the, let's go to the 5 minute bars, things kind of move much quicker. And yeah, you can watch this and everything else. But if you're on the 1 hour bar, 1 hour candle, I should say, you can watch all this stuff. You can go over here and watch as the orders go through. You can see, okay, well, 11,932 for 50 cents. There's this, there's that. You can kind of watch this stuff goes through. You can see that there's a bunch of sellers here. There's a couple buyers here. You can also flip over here and kind of look at what's on the books. And you can kind of watch the buyers and sellers line up here. You can also check the depth chart every now and then to kind of see how that transpires. I don't have a formal way to share on how to go through this. That's the problem with this, because it's something that I didn't get it to 2 hours in, because I was making bad trades, and I was trading what I thought was good trades, but things were happening in the market I didn't understand. So I just took 2 charts. I started watching Bitcoin and I started watching Ripple, and I just really just started watching them. And just watched what happened. Watched, let's say that this here at 9:15, this person here at 9:15, this was actually 10 Bitcoin, right? Let's say it was 10 Bitcoin. What you would see is a lot of people jump ahead of this person, and that would be driving price action. And then suddenly you'd see this 10 Bitcoin just go away. And then if you were watching over here in the trade history, you would say, well, and you didn't see that order, you would then see a kind of a manipulation play right there. You would have saw that in action. Now, what you want to do is you want to correlate what you're watching here and here and here, and then looking at the depth chart every now and then, maybe changing the candles to like maybe a 15-minute or a 30-minute just to kind of see how they're painting, and then always go back to the 1 hour. But you want to correlate what's happening in the market with how these bars are printed, how they actually are represented. And I'm trying to, this video is coming out somewhat a little bit more disjointed than I anticipated, just because it's such a hard thing to actually explain what you get from watching this. I can, it's boring. Don't get me wrong. It's boring if you're not trading, but, and I'll share one tip here on how to make it a little bit more exciting if you can paper trade to kind of confirm your trading and everything else. But there's not much happening right now. There's not a lot of volume. Look at the volume. The volume's kind of dropped. So you want to probably do this when there's volume. Like, it's, I don't know, it's Sunday night here, so volume's really slowed down. But you want to like try to watch this when there's a little bit more volume, because then more things happen. You kind of see more things. But you still get a benefit of watching this any other time, because basically, the price is kind of stuck around. You'll see this bar, we're at, it's 519, and you'll see so far this bar, you can see that the buyers and sellers have really just kind of battled between 193 and 197, right? And you're watching that right now in live, real time. You're watching that, okay, look, it's just kind of bouncing here. And yes, I can look at this bar and see that. I can see the data. What I don't know, and this is what you'll start seeing, is you might see a buyer, a seller pop up here that's a seller pop up here that actually creates the price to go down. So like this person here with 2 Bitcoin, you'll notice there's a lot of people. He just popped up, or she, or whoever's selling that, I should say. That person, so here's one with 3. So see this 3 just popped up and bam, it's gone. I mean, it was 8 and through pretty quick. So you'll see there's people jumping ahead of that. So I anticipate that this bar, and I kind of know that based on just the bar anyways, I anticipate this bar is going to end red, because what you want to start doing too is you want to start predicting how these bars are going to turn out as you consistently see price action happen, right? So this person with 2 Bitcoins, notice how there's some, there's other people jumping ahead saying, okay, I gotta jump ahead of that person. Once again, you got to look over here and see the trade history and kind of see how is the price playing out, because this is just what's on the books, right? This could also be represented in the depth chart, but you can actually see what's actually being transacted over here. So you're looking at all that, right? The other thing that you would anticipate too when you want to start doing is you look at the depth chart. And remember, we have a wall at 11 or 1200, right? So as we get closer to 1200, if we ever do here, you would see that wall show up here. I mean, we can see it here when we just go to the sellers, and you should be looking at this every now and then. You'll see the wall here. It's still there intact, and you'll see there's a couple people ahead of them, right? But as you get closer to that actual price, you'll start seeing it here, and then you'll really start to see the emotions of the market. When someone that has put up a wall like that, that's when things go crazy one way or the other, right? So you might see a buy wall where basically someone is saying, hey, let's say that, and I'm trying to provide, really good examples of this because it's hard when it's real time, right? And this video is already 20 minutes, so I apologize for the length. I hope there's value here. Please share. And if there's things I need to go more depth, I can too. But like what you might see is, here's a scenario I see every now and then, is that this buy wall here is at 1200, right? So you're going to see this and it'll pop up here and people will see that. People will be looking at the depth chart. And then you might see another person just pop up and be at that same level as that wall, or be like double that wall. So like, or a couple people. You might, so what was that wall at? Let's go back. I can't remember because I'm shooting a video. Let's go here. Was it like 300? Yeah. So, well, there's another one here. Yeah. So it's 30 Bitcoin for 369,000, right? So what you might see is you'd see that buy wall up here, right? At this point right here, 369,000. And then, of course, everybody's going to be jumping ahead. And then suddenly you might see a couple people, like for a total of 500,000 or 600,000, kind of support the price at maybe $20 below that or something. And that will give a lot of people confidence to then jump ahead of them and then push the price up and then eat up that buy wall. Or, and keep in mind, this is just people watching the chart. Some people just say, I want to buy Bitcoin. I need to go buy it right now, right? But one of the things to keep in mind is that you might see that show up or go away. And you only see that. You only experience that by watching this real time. And I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job of explaining like the tremendous value that this brings. But here's, I'll end it here. I can look at before I sat down and watched the markets. And I have to also share with you how to paper trade, so I will do that. I looked at this and I understood what these meant. I understood that, okay, there is kind of quite a bit of price movement here, and it opened up here and it closed down here, and then the price got down to here and the price got up to here, right? I could read that, right? I couldn't tell you the 7 or 8 scenarios that could have happened to make that happen, right? I couldn't tell you the 7 or 8 scenarios that I've watched this happen on this chart, right? I couldn't tell, and like here, like this kind of not reversal, but where basically this here says that, of course, we're on an uptrend. The buyers kind of like took over. I mean, it was kind of equal, right? So it was an equal, but still the buyers were in control, right? Here, basically what happened is basically it got to this point and the sellers said, no, it's not going to go higher than that. And we're going to push you down all the way down here. And then basically the sellers, they didn't win this round because there were still more buyers in this hour. But then what basically happened thereafter is probably what happened here is that the sellers were continuing in control and they dipped it down, and the buyer said, well, you guys are crazy. It's worth more than that. And they drove it all the way up here to this resistance point. And I actually bought. So I bought Bitcoin here on the 27th. And then at 7 o'clock or so. Yeah. So I always kind of cash out some of my holdings into USDT because if I think it's going to go up or go down. So I should say I make a trade typically on Bitcoin based on where I see the chart and what I think it's going to do overnight, a portion of my Bitcoin holdings, just to write it up or write it down. So usually on Sunday nights tonight, it usually goes down statistically. So I probably would trade. I would trade out of and then get into USDT and then buy back in the morning. Of course, this is a risk, but my basis for Bitcoin is so all over the map is that I could sell basically anytime and I've made money is basically the way to look at it. But that's neither here nor there. I bought here and I sold out here at 201. So I wrote it up to 244. I was watching it live. And I thought, okay, these guys, are they really going to crack to, 250? Are they really going to crack 250? And they didn't. And then I'm like, okay, well, I gave them a little bit more of a chance. And I said, nah, you know what? I went all the way down to 201 and I cashed out at 12,201. All right. But I rode this all the way up. And then I also, I sold here, and then I also rebought here, and then I sold here, and then I'm kind of waiting to actually to figure out what's going to happen to kind of rebuy Bitcoin to do trading for tomorrow this week. All right, so the key here is I wouldn't be able to know that. I wouldn't be able to know these scenarios without watching this in real time. Remember what I said earlier, that, hey, this bar is probably going to end red. I think I said that. I hope I said that. That, look, we're at the 28th of the hour. This could still turn, but right now we're sitting at 1185. And so really the sellers have taken over. And we can see that in the price action. Look at how fast it's dropping. Now, when you see something like this is where you might want to go to the 5-minute chart, and you're like, holy crap, what's going on? Like, okay, the sellers really, really wanted to take control, which now it's a good buying opportunity here once it slows down. And this is where, once again, I'm not saying that you never look at lower time frames, but you start at the 1 hour, you can just see how that's being represented now, right now. I might pause the video and actually trade this if I think that it's, yeah. So see, it bounced. Well, it bounced for a second. So it bounced up at the 5-minute or 1-minute chart. So, but it looks like it's still trending downward. The actual trend line's down. The actual volume looks like it's down, but there's a fight going on right around 11,850 right now. So there's a little bit of a fight going on right here, and looks like the buyers temporarily, not really, but there's a fight right here at 1850, right? And if we go to the depth chart, well, there's a wall, remember, at 11,800. So, we'll see. They're actually, well, not quite a jump back, but you see here it's starting to have a lot of activity right at this kind of round number of 11,850, right? And this is, once again, I'm kind of narrating this, but you're going through this. And let's actually make a trade. Let's actually do a trade. Now, I'm not locked in or anything, but I'm going to show you now. What I'm going to suggest is using this system here. Well, where am I at? Hold on one second. I'm going to suggest using this system here, which is Crypto Compare, and you can paper trade. So you can set up a new portfolio. So for instance, I've got a Bitcoin portfolio here that I backtraced on, and this is an example of something I would have bought or I would have traded. So you'll see I'm up $90 right now, right? So basically what you want to do, and I won't go through this, but you just create a new portfolio. You can name it Backtrace or Test Trading or whatever you want. And then, and I'll show you this, we'll go through this. So let's actually trade this dip, okay? So I'm going to trade this dip. And I'm going to look at the 5-minute chart. So I use Coinigy to do a lot of this trading just because I like the way their charts are better. I mean, I can't trade with Coinigy with Binance, but I use this for my charting. And then I use this for, basically my main charting, and then I trade on Binance. So, look, we're looking at the 1 hour. You see there's a dip. Let's look at the 3-minute. There's a little bit of, so let's buy. Let's say, hey, I haven't gone into depth, but hey, it looks like they might be on an upswing. Let's ride this. Okay, let's not. Let's ride this up till, let's say that, well, I wouldn't buy here. Let me go through my scenario. Let me just go through, and hopefully this will help people. All right. Well, I wouldn't buy just because what I see here. I don't see any, there's support right here maybe. So as we look at the 10-minute chart, there's support at 11,700, right? And maybe there's support at 1850, obviously, because it's showing up right now in real time, right? So there is support at 1850, right? So let's go back here. So let's just say that we're going to trade this, right? Let's just say that, okay, let's say we've been watching the markets for a while, and our gut tells you that our gut tells us that, hey, it's going to retest this from this level, right? So if we go to the 1 hour chart, yeah, let's say that we bought just above 11,824, right? So now look, it's kind of running away from us, but it'll probably trail back, right? But let's just say that, hey, we think it still has some upside. I think it's a little bit of a risky trade right now. So I would detract against it. But let's say that we got into this trade at we would say we're willing to buy at 859, 11,859. There we go. 859. All right. So let's say that whatever you trade, let's say that you're going to do 1 Bitcoin or a half a Bitcoin, whatever you're willing to do. You take this price that you would have bought at, right? 11,859. And you go over here to the actual compare and you say, okay, we're going to add a new coin and type in BTC. And we're going to say we did 1 Bitcoin and that's our buy price. It's at US dollar. We're going to go to advance and we're going to type in the exchange, Binance. Click this and add it to your portfolio. Now, we're already down almost 1%, but that's nothing in Bitcoin, right? So, I mean, that can happen in 2 minutes or a minute. So, this is basically what you want to do with tracking your trades. Now, here's the other thing that you can do. Now, to track your trades, so you can really kind of track what you're doing. So let's say we go on to the future and let's go here and let's say that it's an hour later and we made our entry, right? And let's say that it got up to let's say it went up to the high 11,995, right? And let's just say we cashed out at 11,995, right? Just because we saw a huge resistance and everything else. So what you can do is you go back to here and you click on this and you do sell and you do 11,995.02, let's say, and then you click sell. So that went to your sold tab here. So these are still my open position, right? And then if I go sell, I can see that I made 1.5%. I made $135, right? And then this will actually track that up here. So I can see my profit and loss in real time. I can see my realized profit and loss. So that's the profits I've taken. And I can see what's in the market right now. So right now I have a 2.5% increase. And you can, in conjunction with watching the market in real time. Oh man, this is a 30-minute video. In conjunction with watching the market in real time, you can also paper trade the market. You can do this on any chart. So you can create the other thing that you can do. Let's say there's something you want to acquire. So you're going to acquire it and you want to learn to trade it. You can create a separate portfolio and call it XRP, for instance. And if you do XRP and do create, now you can paper trade XRP, or when you start trading, I suggest you use this. So I do use this as well. I use this for not day trading because things are so in and out, but I use it for kind of like swing trading. So I can, at a moment's notice, I mean, as you can see here, I don't even have to pull up anything. And if I have multiple coins, it will show me the price that they're at. You can change it from BTC. So it doesn't make sense if you're trading BTC to change it to BTC. But if I'm doing coins, I can track it in BTC. So this is a good way to do that. And hopefully this is clear. If there's anything that wasn't clear, if there's like more steps or like something that needs to be done, just get in touch. And I'll work on being more concise. But the challenge with this type of strategy is that it's just watching the market. It's just watching what happens and seeing how these bars are painted, right? So, we're at 5:37. That's the time. And we're going to have a red bar here. And it'll be interesting to see, based on what the price lands at, to kind of see what happens from here. Now, once again, we're kind of trading in this range, right? We had a breakout here, but all day we've been trading in this range, right? mean, that's a big range. It's from 1288 to all the way down. Well, we'd be able to look at this up here. So 11.4 to 12.44, right, is kind of the range, but that's normal for Bitcoin, right? That's not out of the norm, really. So that's actually not as volatile as it can get sometimes. So, that this is just something, like I said, I suggest that any new trader do. And just, I know it's tough in this day and age to not be distracted and to just sit here and watch these numbers and understand what they mean and watch the price action. If you really need to, this is one caveat I would do, because this gives a little bit more emphasis to it. If you don't learn by just paper trading because you don't feel like you have something on the line, then trade. And then just trade Bitcoin and USD and just watch it. And just trade one thing. Don't worry about anything else. Just trade this one chart and just trade it. Trade the dips, or, buy on the dip, ride it on the way up, sell, and so what you would basically do is when it dipped down here, you'd buy down here, ride it up, sell when you think is a good time to sell. And then as it trails back down, just watch the chart, buy, and then, ride it on the way up. Now, usually if you're going to do that, you're going to want to do, at least a 15-minute or like a 5-minute time frame. But you can do it with just the 1 hour, especially if you're new. That's the time scale you want to start thinking in this market. So I'll end this video. It's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Hopefully there's value here. Hopefully people got to this point in the video. I'm guessing probably less than half did. So definitely leave me some feedback. Thanks.